now that summer's coming up, my horse is completely irritated by the flies. Ooh, you're not alone.
Yeah.
I have a fly sheet, boots, and a mask, as well as loads of fly spray. It just doesn't seem to work. My horse either gets too sweaty with all the sheets, boots, and masks, or it just doesn't keep the bugs away. Are there any alternatives to keep my horse healthy and happy, or recommended products to keep the flies away without getting her sweaty and uncomfortable? It's extremely difficult because she needs to be covered from head to toe because of her melanomas. The sun could maybe cause more. So we got kind of a lot going on.
Yeah, you know, there's a word in there, alternatives. And I look at fly prevention, avoidance, defense as not alternatives, but sort of a well-rounded package. I mean, it's a you got to group everything together, and we've made different zones, you know. So one of the first zones, and she's not specific about which fly species.
She is not.
Horse, all of them.
Yeah. The flies.
The flies. The first zone I think about is, you know me, the manure.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, of
You
course.
love poop.
I do.
We all know.
And there's a couple ways to affect that, because filth flies, they're called. They lay their
That's adorable.
adorable. Their eggs and their pupa and their larvae, all that happens in the manure pile. And so the companies have figured out, hey, let's, you know, go right there. And so one thing you can do is there are parasitic wasps that go into the manure pile, and they know how deep they penetrate. They know a lot of things about these insects. And they lay their own eggs in the pupa of the flies that are bothering your horse, and then that fly can't mature, but then the parasitic wasp does, and so that's really cool. So you're getting them before they're even born.
Yeah.
You know.
And wasps sound scary, but they're not the kind that bother you or your horse.
Yeah, yeah.
They're
and
just getting the
they're
other bugs.
tiny. You don't even notice them. So that's one way. And then thinking still outside. Of course, you have to remove manure that's not, you know, in the right place. You have to properly compost. So it's just turning and storage and all that. Any standing water should be removed, and that's where mosquitoes like to breed. Also, just plant debris like vegetative matter. These insects like to use as this organic matter they like to breed in.
Grass clippings.
Yep,
that kind of
yep.
stuff.
Branches dead, just all that. You got to get rid of all that. You got to clean your place up. You can't give them a place to like breed and multiply. You can also get like fly traps. But be careful with those, because those, you don't want, they attract flies, right? So you don't want to attract flies to your area. So you kind of set them away from your barn, away from the areas the horses congregate in, and you attract flies there. We sell two mosquito dunks, which you can put in the water. And it can be drinking water, and those don't let the mosquito breed in the water. So that's the outside. She mentioned the fly sheets and masks and boots, and every year companies are coming out with better and better coverage, because these are physical barriers,
Yes.
right? As far as repellent, I forget how she explained it. Loads of
fly spray.
Loads of fly spray.
Yeah.
There's kind of three categories of fly spray. So repellents, which repel flies, and that's great. Insecticides kill, and you want to kill, but your job is not that. But also the third one is the confusing, the ones that confuse. And I think we have a EcoVet here. This is made of fatty acid. Smells new scent. It smells interesting, but it confuses the flying insects, and so the signals they use from your horse to tell that your horse is there and taste a tasty morsel, they're not getting those properly anymore, and so they fly around and swirl around, and they don't land and bite and annoy. So try one of these categories and see what you think. Oh, and we're getting a new product. You might not know this. It's called Cool Curtains with K's.
Okay.
And it's mesh screen. So if you can put your horse, whether it's in the stall, whether it's a run-in, they make them for run-ins too, inside an enclosed area where the air moves, the UV light cannot penetrate, so it stays cool, and there's no bugs, because her horse being hot and uncomfortable was something she mentioned. I think if you make a run-in shelter or put these cool curtains on your horse's stall and windows, She'll thank you.
Yeah.
They're wonderful. And we don't have them quite yet, but they're coming very, very soon.
Awesome.
So that's going to be super exciting.
It's always nice to be able to give your horses an option for them to make the choice. Like if you build the run-in, you put up the curtains, and then
Yeah.
if she's
Yeah.
bothered, she can go
Yeah.
in there. If she finds that the flies aren't that bad and she wants to stay out, she could stay out.
She can stay out. Like she wants to eat grass.
Yeah.
Go out and eat grass
Yeah.
or run back in.
You decide what's worth it.
Yeah, and then the last category that I should mention is there's a couple of options for feed through. And so one of them is the insect growth regulators, and they're the EPA approved products like the Solitude and the Simplify, and there's a new one on the market. I can't think of the name of it. But those don't let the eggs of the flies hatch. So that's nice. And it passes unchanged to the horses, and it's passed in the manure, and then when it's in the manure pile, they can lay eggs, but they don't ever mature. And then the other is, and that's sort of a whole barn herd thinking. If you want to give your horse his own personal, no fly zone, whatever, there a lot of people feed ingredients like garlic and apple cider vinegar and brewer's yeast, I think is another one. And it's things that discourage flies from being around your horse. Deterrence, use the word defense.
Mm-hmm.
So they just make your horse sort of unattractive. And a lot of people have success with those. But yet, like feed my horse garlic. But the horses don't smell like garlic. But
No.
to the fly nose,
Yeah.
I guess maybe they do. I don't know.
Can you imagine how cute their noses are?
They're
Very,
adorable.
very wee.
Very adorable.
Very
yeah.
small. So you can see we have a lot of our favorite fly products back here that you can see there's a wide variety of the offering. But I also wanted to throw out there, just like the companies are coming out with new products every year, the fly sheets are changing
Yes.
every year.
Yes.
There's a lot of materials that aren't as heavy as old fly sheets used to be. There's a lot that are marketed for their breathability. That the fabric was chosen. So if she's not tough on a fly sheet, if she just doesn't destroy her fly sheets.
Or like live in a pasture.
With other pasture mates who can be tough on the fly sheet, a lighter weight fabric might be a great option for you to consider.
Good idea.
And we have our whole no-fly zone where we talk about all the different zones that Dr. Gray talked about. So we'll link to that in the video description as well, so that you can get some tips for every zone in the barn, because it is a full all fronts approach to really beating those bugs.
Not alternatives.
No.